as submitted budget
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the meeting agenda. Are there any additions, changes?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the board was wanting to switch around 11.1, 11.2.
Okay.
Also, you have a late items section that you want to add to late items agenda. That's a hard copy in front of you for the late items section.
All right, so the adjustment of 11.1, 11.2, and late items. Any other additions, changes?
None for my chair.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda then as amended?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda with amendments.
Okay.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the agenda with amendments. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Public hearing.
On pre-preliminary, you guys have that hard copy as well because it's a lot of information, so it's hard copy in front of you.
So it's a separate packet
Totally separate packet, yeah.
titled with this.
They have a highlight on the front of it, so it's looking that second page. Yeah. There's two. Yeah, one for solar, one for budget, because they were a lot of data.
Okay.
Okay. So 3.1.
We've got one other comment regarding the 0405 budget.
It's the 14-15 budget, and you should find in your packet a letter to the board from the west side of Parentville.
Yes. So,
This is also the time for any public comment that the board would want to hear from the audience pertaining to the 14-15 budget.
is there any comment, discussion? So regarding the letter,
Regarding the letter, we arranged for a meeting with the Westside Parentville. We had a great discussion on budgets, updated on kind of where we're at with the budget. Emphasized that there's lots of positions that we want to add back district-wide, and explain where we're at in terms of starting to rebuild after many years of economic recession. Then we had a great discussion about site council, and we reviewed the policy on site council. I think we can see a much more active engagement with site council next year. That's what we're hoping for. And a lot of the comments were, oh, now we understand what site council is about. So I thought it was really positive conversation.
so to refresh my memory on the proposal submitted to us in March by Mrs. Warner.
That was referring to a proposal that I gathered internally from the building principals on what they're wanting to see for potential add-backs. That was not something that was prepared to deliver to the board. And that's rolled into the 9 positions that I've identified that eventually we want to build back in the district.
Where are we at with the numbers out of the west side school now? Do you know off your head? What the numbers are, or two? Where were we at when we had 3 teachers out there?
Well, at the high we're at 60. At the low we're in the high 40s.
still on the bottom end, but it should.
Yeah, it's coming up though. A couple years ago, we're in the 30s.
Right.
They kindergarten really coming to fruition and increasing the limit.
Yeah, so our plan is pushing it the other way. So I appreciate the letter and the support from parents, but, and I want them to know that I've taken it seriously, and I think that we need to track those numbers and put energies into watching that and making that a priority. But I know also I appreciate the fact that you've shared we have holes in a lot of places.
And you will see in just a couple minutes here a proposal from me in terms of Mr. Getty has identified some additional revenue, and there's some stuff I would like to build back with you immediately if we could. But we'll review that here in just a second.
Good. Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Is there anybody here from West Side? That's Susan. Parents here, Susan.
I don't know if they understood. I guess, I don't know, we didn't really discuss it when they were at the parent club meeting, at the site council meeting the other night. But,
No, I just wondered, just if they were here, I didn't know them.
Well, you're
No, no.
I think we had,
yeah.
well, I will say it was such a good forum, and
Yeah, it was
I think we gave them a lot of information
Yeah.
that
It
they're
was a good
going to.
discussion.
I'm not quite, I don't
find out.
care that they're not here, I just wanted to make sure I didn't
No,
miss them.
there they were. I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate the letter very much.
So were there questions answered?
I think a lot
I
of
think we did a
questions.
pretty good job, yeah, getting your questions answered here.
We just got this letter tonight in our packet, so. That was very nice.
One priority that we wanted out of the meeting was to try to further increase the enrollment out there by putting, announcing it, sending a handout home tomorrow to town kids, letting them know that they have the opportunity to go to union school. The examiner has also been out to do an interview with Susan and Claudia, and hopefully that should be next week's paper, if not next week, week after next, to let folks know that their child can attend union school, and that will hopefully bring the numbers up even further.
Is the all-day kindergarten hooking them and keeping them?
We have an 85% retention rate. And the parents are writing testimonial letters
Yeah.
to help this campaign. We had a phone call this morning. We've had 3 kids in the last 3 weeks, it was a little prior to this meeting, inquire about going to school out here. 1 was from out of the district and 2 were from town. We had another phone call this morning about an additional kindergartner coming out. And I don't think those letters are out there yet, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with that. But the parents were very excited to jump in and help, and felt like they felt empowered to be able to do something to help their school.
I hear great things from parents out of West Side, so thank you for doing a good job.
Much appreciated. All right, 3.2, the financial report and budget information update. Good.
Right there,
Are you doing that or are you doing your financial report?
budget adoption option.
Which starts after Sean's memo, you guys.
Well, no, I need for one to correct my error in the budget committee and get back to reality.
This is exactly what they.
And then we work from there, depending on what each does.
This is exactly what they have. They have this at the very end, just because we offered them there first.
Right. Okay. Option 1 is the budget that the budget committee approved. However, I neglected to subtract $247,000 from Fund 400 when the transfers from the general fund were cut. And so in order for me to balance the budget to the committee's approved budget, I I had to go into Fund 450 and increase the cash carryover and the contingency to match it to where it meet $10,705,000. Well, that's not reality, and I need to correct that. And as you can see, I want the board, either tonight or at the June 23rd meeting when they adopt the budget, to cut that $247,000 out of Fund 450 and get back to reality. Our actual budget should be $10,458,615. And that'll be the base figure. And then discussions tonight and at the June 23rd meeting, you add or subtract the next number to get the correct adopted budget for next year.
So the cleanest way is just to accept option 2, because that's an error found, and then our budget comes to the So if we were to make a motion to that effect now, that would be, an error has been identified, and it's an adjustment of $247,000.
That sounds like a motion. We can make that motion.
I will make a motion that an error has been found of $247,000, and that we, the board, consider accepting the option 2 to correct the budget as it was made at the day of the budget hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made, and
You could add to your motion, if you would please, and put the total amount of the budget onto it. $1,458,615.
Oh, that would give so I'll amend my motion as stated by Darrell Anderson for the total of $10,458,615.
Thank you. We might not know what option 2 was 2 months from now. Number.
so,
Do I have to second?
did you second the amended motion?
I would second.
All right, so the motion's been made, amended, seconded. And I'm not even going to attempt to recap that motion, but Joanne, could you recap that for us?
We got both. We're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
So,
You're flying right along there.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
All right, and then there was attachments there that shows you the changes I have to make. Okay, that done now, we go to the which order did you have in there? How about the preliminary May?
yes.
The preliminary May revenue and expenditure summary. And this one here, financial report on a monthly basis. Okay. So far right now, this report predicts that the cash balance on June 30th is going to be $1,301,000. Now, what I've done with that number, because it's very, very close, it's a preliminary because Patty and I haven't balanced the budget yet for May. She hasn't had time with all these extra payrolls. But it's very, very close. So that with that $1,301,000, which I think is going to stay steady, I developed estimate number 6 for next year's budget. In estimate number 6, I plugged in the 1.3 million, and right now, for Fund 100 only, the expenditure and revenue budget is $8,240,000. With this additional revenue, and I also plugged in the May 16th ODE School Support Fund report, which was slightly higher than the original budget amount that went to the committee. Overall, at the very bottom of that last column, we're looking at an additional $125,000 in revenue, which will be discussed here very shortly.
find a memo there that addresses what we're proposing for the additional $125,000. If I can have my back. There it is. Mr. Getty and I would really like to see 50,000 of that 125 go into Fund 450, the maintenance and reserve fund. It's really hurting. That's probably where it's taken the majority of the hits in the last 5-6 years. And we've got to start building some revenue back there for large expenditures, particularly roofing projects that are coming up, and we simply do not have the dollars in there to even do one roofing project right now. There's 2 or 3 that are right on the horizon. Number 2, we would like to recommend restoration of the part-time union custodial position. We had for years a 3.5-hour per day position that was out there, and when the economic recession hit, that was one of our cuts. And as you heard Mr. Cahill, Mr. Warner just testified, the numbers are starting to rise. We're also seeing a significant increase in the amount of usage of facilities, particularly during basketball season. And we just finished the Oaks assessments, and a lot of times we like to see what the data says before we make moves on certain build backs. And there's definitely a need for some extra math help at Union. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to take that position that's been a cook/aide/custodian and take the custodial piece off, and so it's just a cook/aide, and that will give it'll infuse another 2 hours per day of aid time in the classroom that can be used for mathematics or whatever Mrs. Warner sees fit. And then by the restoration of that custodial position, that also increased the amount of custodial time that is commensurate with the amount of usage of the facility, and that's around $14,000 for that adjunct. Number 3 is a temporary district maintenance position. Keep in mind, we have 1.5 FTE in our maintenance department right now. We used to have 3. The half is attached to a position that is a PERS retiree position, which is limited on the number of hours that this individual can work per year, else they lose their PERS eligibility. We don't want them to see that. Currently, that individual has had to put in 23 days of extra time, and so we have to have that individual back off on their time. But now we're in the peak maintenance season during the summer. And so what I would like to do is hire a maintenance person. We're not talking grounds here, we're talking a maintenance person. If we can find somebody just on a temporary basis for 3 months to try and get back on top of a lot of these maintenance projects that have been identified, and we've just got to get it done. And so that leaves about $48,000 in revenue. And this is where I need the guidance from the board. There's a lot of things that you can do with those dollars. One option is dumping more of that into Fund 450, the maintenance reserve fund. Another option is leave it in cash carry. Question.
What's our current balance in Fund 450?
I can't hear.
Our current balance in Fund 450? Do you know where we're at right now?
Yeah, $1,427.
That's why we need to put some money in that fund.
But there is schedule. There is some.
Scheduled as part of the new budget?
So you take that 1,400 and add to. There's 118,000 scheduled to be transferred from next year's budget into that fund. So you're looking at 120,000. Right. That's about half a row.
So you could dump that additional 48 into that Fund 450 or a portion of it. You could leave that 48, just put it in cash carryover. And as you saw, Mr. Getty said about 1.3 million is what he's estimating, so we can add 48 to that. Or what I would really like for us to entertain is bringing forward a little bit more of a comprehensive analysis of those 9 positions that I've identified we'd like to eventually build back. The problem is those 9 positions are worth about $570,000. We don't have the money right now, But I think there's some strategic ways we can start to use those dollars in terms of some extra staffing. And if the board is interested in entertaining a proposal, I would like to meet strategically with Mr. Crocker, Mr. Cahill, and Mr. Warner, and try and look at this and see if we can't bring a proposal on how best we could use that 48,000 in terms of certified, additional certified personnel. And again, a lot of it's based on data, test data. Where's the need? Where's the highest need? But I need some direction from the board on this in terms of what you would like for us to do. And in terms of the memo tonight, you don't have to prove any of this. We need to approve the budget at the last meeting in June, so we still have one meeting to go. If you want to sit on this, think about it, ask me for some more additional data, whatever you'd like to do, or you can approve the memo as is, which gives me some direction in terms of that last meeting.
So if we added this 3.5 hours a day out to union with the custodial position, would that free up enough that in the interim we're kind of getting you guys by? Is that helpful enough?
It would certainly be helpful to put some of that assistant time back into the classroom. We'll multi-age classrooms. Normally what you'll see is an assistant working with one group, a teacher working with one group, and then the kids are either on some kind of intervention program with software or doing some seat work. So they're rotating all the time, trying to make that as engaging as possible for them because of the limited amount of staff and the multi-grades going on. If numbers get to that 50 mark, we'll have to, Mr. Gallagher and I have talked about that with Mr. Cahill. We'll be having a whole different conversation, but yes, it would help a lot. And maybe, I don't know if the board's aware when Mr. Gallagher referred to additional time in that gym. Sometimes we have 5 basketball teams a night practicing in that gym. So it's getting as much time as Concord Ford because it's such a nice facility. So yes, it would be very helpful.
Yeah. Well, I propose we don't make a motion yet on any of it. I appreciate where you've allocated this fund, but I think that there's definitely need there. But I hate to lock those in until we come to a resolution on where the 48 goes. Sure. So that keeps those in flux for discussion. Sure. So that way you could make a proposal. Good. Maybe before the board or in a work session.
And I might add that item number 1 should be done this year, if it's going to be done in this year's budget. So wait till the 23rd because we still have one more payroll to process. And those late negotiations from last year's negotiations that weren't settled until after the budget was adopted are starting to cut into our budget now. They're starting to come to reality.
So this will leave us flexibility if you leave it till the 23rd.
Yeah, until the 23rd. To see what our actual, and by then I'll know a lot better what our actual or our estimated ending fund balance is going to be. Item number 2 would have to be added to next year's budget. Item number 3 would have to be added to next year's budget. The 48,000 is up to whatever you decide what you want to do with it. A real simple solution, just put it in contingency and deal with it after the 1st of July. And then you can go either through a supplemental budget or through a transfer of appropriation resolution to put it where you want it. From the contingency to the line item. So, just a suggestion.
So Mike, to give you time on 2 and 3, do we need to schedule something before the 23rd? If you need to rebuild your budget around that?
I think the meeting on the 23rd, they can reschedule another meeting or adjourn to another meeting several days after that.
That's what I'm
Because,
thinking.
if it gets to the point where we're really tight with the budget and we don't really know what we want to do, you can make some decisions on the 23rd, but if you're not sure, you can say, adjourn to another meeting a couple days later. Hold a third meeting. Very important we start the new year on sound footing.
I think we're all comfortable with pushing that off to the 23rd, manage your recommendation valid, so we can hold off on that for the 23rd. But we want to have some type of work session or something where we discuss the 48? Or do we just want to move that over into contingency and deal with it after the first year?
Do either.
Well, if we're talking about the possibility of adding positions, then we that would yeah.
But if we did a work session on the front end of the meeting, I'm later,
Okay.
discuss that. It wouldn't be a separate night at all, it would be the same night. Present the data at that time. That's what you want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So, budget amendment, there's a million people, that one. Now we're going to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 12th.
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes of May 12th. As presented, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence.
None? Sure.
Public comment.
Well, I have something, but I know that all these kids are here, and I didn't know if you wanted me to wait until after you approve the letter of resignation. I'd be happy to talk now, but no, all these kids are here.
We can wait, we can move to have the
Next.
correspondence or public comment after that.
Okay. Thank you.
So, early items. Sixth grade science fair report.
Please turn this over to Mrs. Warner.
We're doing a lot of this passing back.
Where are you?
Kind of flip a coin to see, how bad it's going to be. We have one sixth grade student with us. We have a number of science fair projects. Our science fair was in April. We've done this for 5 years now, I think, or so. And would you like to come up here, Miss Rihanna? Rihanna's here, and she's one of our finalists. We typically have not chosen a grand prize winner. We want to select the kiddos that have the highest quality projects, and we've given anywhere from 10 finalists to 6. Would you like to explain to the board a little bit about what your project entails? Yeah, you can kind of just pull it out of the a little bit so they can kind of see it. Does that work for you guys? Okay. And kind of explain a little bit, kind of like you would for your judges.
I did a project called worm bounty hunting because I saw worms to tree value, and I wanted to find the quickest and most efficient way to gather the worms. And so I had 3 ways. I used Ajax dish soap mixed with water, 3 quarts of water to a cup of dish soap, and then a wooden post hammering it into the ground, the wet ground, and then water running on it the entire time, and a 3x4 board on wet ground. My hypothesis was that the Ajax dish soap will bring most worms to the surface. And my research was because that the soap suffocates the worms because they breathe through their skin and they needed to come up. And it was proved right by 84%. The board only brought up, on day 1, the soap brought up 12 worms, the stick brought up 9, and then the board brought up 2, and the water brought up 3. On day 2, the soap brought up 18, the stick 9, the board 1, the water 1. Day 3, soap 8, stick 0, board 0, and water 0. So stick brought up nothing, and then the water was 2nd, and the board was 3rd. So my hypothesis was proven right, and so I can conclude that the soap does suffocate the worms from coming up, and the water, it doesn't help them in the way because they can't breathe any way because they go through their holes, and it floods them. And the board, the light paralyzes them, so they have to hide somewhere dark. And so they can't, that's why they have a better board. And the stick, my brother used to tell me that I would take over from the ground, but it didn't work. 1 cup to 3 quarts.
1 quart, okay. How did you determine that?
I just read it online.
So, how many worms did you get?
I got 37 worms total in 2 days.
How big an area?
It was only like 12 by 9, and I sectioned it in 4 pieces.
So how much did you get for the worm?
Only $1.50 a dozen.
Not much overhead, So,
You don't have to clean them though after that.
so if you went back again, do you get the same amount of worms per square foot? Or do you get them all out of the ground and you have to move to a new spot?
You kind of have to move to a new spot because they go different places depending on where the light is. So you kind of have to rotate them.
Thank you.
Mrs. Schulberger announced at the Ward Assembly this morning that apparently word is getting around town about the worm posture. We'll get calls at the school as far as what is the best strategy for getting worms.
Great project.
Right.
She should sell that.
As I look around the other kiddos that are here, I apologize. Brianna was free to come tonight, but we have quite a few kids that are still in softball and baseball, playing baseball tonight, and they're kind of the kids. But a couple that kind of stood out for me that were just out of the ordinary. Harvey Dick injected dye into an embryo, a chick in an embryo, and her chicks came out different colors, whatever color she came out. So she had blue chicks at science fair, and then a pink one actually hatched that afternoon, and Mom ran home and got it and brought it in for the open house that night. So they're really thinking outside the box. We're not repeating the same old experiment over and over. They're really exploring and investigating. And then Haley Neal back here, I don't know how long these projects, but when Lisa brought them down, but she gave some quantitative analysis to the paranormal and figured out what she could take readings on and spent some time in the cemetery. And then John Cobart identified different places in Lake County that were haunted, or supposedly haunted. So she went at night in different times and took different kinds of readings. So they're thinking outside the box, and that's what we want. We want that creativity in our science programs.
That's one of the most commonplace causes, you said, sure man. Sure Grinch ghost stories myself, so.
I slept in that house and there's one there.
I actually know when it goes to our Daly in the Hereford building.
Yeah.
A video that goes to it.
That's a great idea. It's cute.
Great job.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Good presentation.
All right, so how about the 6th grade field trip report? You're up again.
Do you guys have questions? Would you like to know the highlights?
Yeah, what I noticed.
The weather was the highlight, I think. We had, one of the days that we were at the beach in Newport, we got a little guy, we got several kites, and there was so little wind he could not fly a kite on the beach in Newport, which is unheard of. It was over 80 degrees, 85 degrees was our high one of the days in Newport for May. We had beautiful weather the entire time. This is one of the first years we've not left and had snow between here and Ohio. So we were ecstatic. We had a few bumps along the way, and that kind of, gives, I see there's bus approval on the agenda, and we had some parents that were just hot and tired, ready to be off bus, because we doubled up in Christmas Valley to get everybody home when our bus broke down. Kids were great, chaperones were great, and we just really had a nice time. Other questions?
So it was on the way home.
Yes. Oh, yes. And it was a good Christmas Valley cutoff, so we could kind of went home. And we were ahead of schedule for lunch. We usually are not. We're usually scrambling to stay on schedule. So no one had a flu, so that's good. That's good.
Thank you for your village, it's awesome.
We have a good time. Gerald's the only one who identified that has not gone, and we've always, that invitation's standing anytime. That you'd like everyone to do that at least once.
At
Maybe
least once.
twice, right?
I'll be
Well, thank you. Okay. Middle school math enrichment field trip report.
Okay, well, I'm gonna introduce to you these two kids who went with us. They're gonna talk all about it from beginning to end. This is Bryce and Alex.
Okay, so Thursday night we went to Intel at about 8 o'clock at night. And we talked to a lady named Linda Williams, which graduated from Lakeview. And she talked about her career. She works with employees to place them in appropriate positions. Then we heard from a new employee who works to keep the technology people productive.
Just real quick, Linda started out as an engineer and then she moved throughout within Intel into different careers. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was this one woman who, her job was to keep those thinkers happy and productive and that kind of thing. So it was really interesting to see that there's actually a job like that. So.
This was 8 o'clock at night?
This was started at 8 o'clock at night, yes.
We were there till 9:30.
Yeah, probably 9:30.
And so it was like a night shift, they worked around the clock?
Well, these guys stayed late,
And
thanks to Linda.
pizza.
Yeah, they had pizza for
We
us.
had like 5 boxes of pizza.
And it was really good pizza, it was gourmet pizza. Yeah.
through it out. Anyway, but the next day we woke up bright and early. We left the hotel, what was it, about 7? We had to be on the bus by 7, and my group woke up at 5:30, which was very pleasant. We went to US Bank to see Hank Seawald, a CPA, and he talked about a lot of things about like managing money and what he does. He also talked about like goals in life and how you achieve them. And he talked about his family and his daughter achieving like high math grades like we are and striving to be better than the rest of the group.
He also talks about how even though like if you love sports and you're good at it and you get paid to play it, you always have to have a backup plan in case you're not good enough.
His daughter wrote a paper that is, he said he was gonna send it to me, and she had suffered several concussions. And she still achieved really high levels of math and had to work really hard at it. So I think it was maybe a undergraduate project or something. She wrote a really interesting paper about it. Yeah, well, I think it was published within the university or something. It sounded pretty interesting. So I'll have to remind him to send it to me.
Then after lunch on Friday, we went to Standard Insurance and talked to an actuary. And should I explain what an actuary does?
Yes.
So an actuary basically is hired to do math for companies to figure out the probability of something happening.
Isn't the definition like to analyze the situation and figure out the probability?
And he talked about how the tests you had to take to become an actuary, and it took him 5 years to pass one of the tests.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 tests.
10
tests.
Yeah.
So we really explained how hard it is to become one.
Yeah. We learned how important it is even if you're in math, that you have to have good speaking skills. You never know when that's going to pop up because he was very nervous. Kids would be thinking, it's okay, you're doing fine.
Next person? Okay, so next we went to a investment banking group, and what they talked about was like following the money and stuff. So what one of them did was they did stock trading, and they showed us a variety of different companies like Apple and Disney, and they showed us the timeline of how Apple rose very quickly in, what was it, the 90s or something? Mm-hmm. And how you would have like, I think it was 20% profited your money or something if you put in $50 a month, but the price would change over time and you would pay, what was it, like $20,000?
Yeah.
It was
10% basically
Yeah.
over that whole amount of time that you have to savings or so the kids were, I mean, we use McDonald's and we use Disney, things that the kids
Yeah.
are really great to push. Yeah, even though he, trades in all kinds of stuff, he really knew where his audience was. about the forensic. Yeah. Oh, I'll talk about that. You guys were a little less than alert. But anyway, the forensic accountant was really interesting. He was telling us about how forensic accounting became a thing right after Watergate, because they were, investigators were searching for answers and everybody was lying and they couldn't figure out where to go. And one of them, or I think it was their secret source, told them to follow the money. And so that's where forensic accounting kind of became, even though it existed before Watergate, it became kind of a career or a thing after that. So
So where do they work?
The forensic accountant, he works at the, was it One World Trade Center in downtown Portland?
Right on the.
And he works, yeah, he works a lot for Allstate Insurance,
Oh.
but he's an independent contractor. So I think he might do other things too. Yeah.
Insurance is broad.
Yeah.
We then talked to his assistant, and the thing I remember, she talked to us about a car going through a coffee shop's front window.
Yeah.
And like exactly how much money they'll get for like compensation, and how she does that, which was pretty cool.
Because it's interesting to think of all the different types of loss that they have, and they had loss because they're not able to make money that day, but they also didn't lose because they didn't have to buy any burger, they didn't have to buy any lettuce, you know, and so she showed us.
And then they didn't have to pay the employees.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was really interesting.
And they didn't have to pay a contract for
That wasn't Alex's?
Yeah.
He did that one. So I just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to do this. I think it really had an impact. And one of the things I noticed during both my kids' graduations is they talked so much about the 6th grade field trip. And I think this is going to be, for these 8th graders, yeah, they say it was more fun, and that I think it's something that they're going to remember and maybe even talk about as they graduate. And remember these. I mean, we sat in a big, not that this isn't beautiful, but a big, beautiful boardroom with leather, everybody had a leather chair and a beautiful glass table. Starbucks. Yeah, we have a picture, but apparently it's not working. But anyway, it was really cool for the kids to see the big city life, because we have a lot of this good country life. And it's hard to get in the middle of that. Even if you're a tourist in Portland, a lot of times you don't get to see what these guys got to see.
Oh, okay.
Except they didn't have a table like this.
They didn't have this kind of cool table, no. It was beautiful, let me tell you that.
This was the first one.
This was the first one, and I appreciated Joe too. Joe drove for us, he was a wonderful bus driver, and I just want to say thank you over and over again for allowing us to do this.
Thank you for doing it.
I really hope to do it again. I think I budgeted for it. Pretty sure I budgeted for it next year. I think I did, and what's that? And we'll definitely look for improvements. But you know, as I look through the trip, I can't really think of improvements, but I'm sure as we go through the year, something will come up that we can do.
Very good.
Excellent learning tools. And I would say the conversation on the buses, the kids talking about college and asking those questions were really good too.
Yeah.
So they were really engaged.
Some kids who were in.
They're just like talking about future, even if it's not math, just future for everything and what it's like.
Yeah, and what are the possibilities for these? I teach kids and to keep trying, even though sometimes they get worn out from all the homework, just to keep at it.
Thanks. Thank you for the report. Very informative. Sounds like it was a wonderful trip. Thanks for taking it.
Yes. Thank you. That was a lot of work. It's good. Well worth it. And thank you so much. I love it. So.
That was easy.
Oh.
No, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Same with our science fair people, they can stuff out doing this. Go ahead and let's hear the LHS biology report.
Okay, well, I brought one of our co-strip participants, Connor Liedtke, and Connor actually made a really good PowerPoint with some of the pictures that he took along the way, but I wasn't able to get it to us, and I guess I wouldn't have been able to show it anyway, so that's kind of too bad. Thank you, Connor, for taking the time to do that. So I guess we'll just kind of talk about what we did. So we left on a Friday morning and headed over and stopped at the wildlife safari in Winston. Done that for a couple of years. And I usually teach a unit on wildlife biology in my field biology class, so I didn't get to it this year. So that is kind of a pertinent stop. But anyway, I'll let Connor talk about that.
Yeah. One thing I thought was really cool about the wildlife safari is most of, if not all, of their workers were volunteers, and it's a totally non-profit organization. And our tour guide that we had on our bus, she said she's what they call a matriarch, which means she put in over 100 hours the previous year of volunteer work. So it was pretty cool having someone who really knew what she was talking about with all the different animals. Pretty neat.
We had a giraffe encounter there, so they have 2 giraffes, and I don't know if you guys have been through there or not, but so they have 2 giraffes, so we stopped and had an encounter where they got to feed them and learn more about the giraffe, and that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. So we all get to feed the giraffe, individual leaves, and this one's pretty old. It's a pretty old giraffe, you can tell. It's all scarred up, and Rachel Thomas is feeding it, and it sneezes on her, and just a big old snot pile.
Yeah, it was about a 1.5 foot long snot noodle in her hair. So that was a good experience. After that, we spent a couple hours there doing the drive-through and the giraffe encounter, and then walking around and learning about the animals. And they have a little village, and then we went on to the coast and stayed at Sunset Bay.
Yeah, that's a really cool area. Our campground is actually about maybe half-mile from the actual beach, and the campground didn't have service, so most kids always wanted to go to the beach. But it's a really neat place. It's got two columns of rocks coming out, and it's just a nice bay coming in, real pretty when the sun sets. Real nice place, and the yurts are pretty nice too. I was surprised. It's pretty nice.
Some of the kids actually got in the water that first night too, which was. I think you got in, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which I didn't think it was warm enough for that.
No, it wasn't.
But they did. So then the next day we went to a fish hatchery, and I taught a unit on watersheds here, and so this was good for them to see watersheds on the other side of the mountains, watersheds that tie into the ocean, not Great Basin watersheds. So we went to a fish hatchery.
Yeah, and this was a really cool place too. I was expecting like a whole huge operation, but we ended up driving for about an hour in the hills on some back roads to get to this little area. And what was really cool about this place is all of their workers are volunteers too, and all of their things are provided for. They just live out there all the time, taking care of the fish and all the other stuff in the watershed, so that was really neat.
And how many fins did you guys clip?
We ended up clipping over 4,000 fins on fish for, how long did we do it, an hour?
An hour, probably.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, we had quite an assembly line. We had a picture of it. I wish you could see it. And they, at that hatchery, they clip fins, but they also do an implant in the nose, and it's a little wire. And we didn't do that. Actually, we didn't dig anything out. We've done that in years past, but just for tracking and identification where these fish came from. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it was cool to see that all the people there were really passionate about what they were doing and just really knowledgeable in every aspect. Really neat.
So we had learned about estuary ecosystems where the freshwater and saltwater meet, and we went to the South Slough Estuary Reserve and did some plankton surveys and things like that.
Yeah, and this is interesting because we had studied estuaries, but a lot of us didn't realize the importance of them in the world. And salmon come out from the ocean, and they have to sit in this estuary for a certain amount of time before they can acclimate to the non-salted river water, so they can get back and spawn. So estuaries are big, really, really important, and if they're not well taken care of and healthy, then that can destroy huge fish populations, a lot of our economy through fishing. So it was really cool to see that.
What did we do after that, Connor?
OINB.
Oh, yep. So these guys got to see University of Oregon's Research Center in Charleston, Oregon Institute of Marine Biology, and OSU's Research Center in Newport. But we went to OINB, University of Oregon's facility first, and looked at some of the projects that their professors and their grad students are working on.
Yeah, what was really cool is they were showing us this one project a student was working on where they had one octopus in one side of the tank, and she taught it to open up a jar, to twist the jar and open it up. And her hypothesis was that if she put another octopus in the other side of the tank, that it could open the jar the very first try after watching the other one do it, because octopi are so smart. So, but we didn't actually get to see it done, so that was kind of disappointing, but yeah, it was cool to think about.
Yeah, so they showed us some of the projects they're working on, and they do some deep sea exploration and things like that too at that research center. So that was pretty interesting. We went to the tide pools after that. It was pretty cold and actually pretty miserable.
Yeah, the wind was blowing at least 30 miles an hour. I got knocked out a couple times.
Yeah. So we didn't spend a lot of time at the tide pools, and we came back. That was Saturday, so that was kind of a busy day. I have a theory. It's keep the day really busy, and then they'll sleep really good. And it actually seemed to work for this trip. Then Sunday we got up early and we drove to Newport, and our first stop was at the Hatfield Marine Science Center for Oregon State, and we had kind of a quick tour of that.
Yeah, they seemed really busy, which is unfortunate, but
they are also doing octopus experiments. Then we, let's see, where did we go after that? Oh yeah, we went to the aquarium.
Yeah.
I guess we went there first.
Yeah.
Went to the Oregon Coast Aquarium, and a lot of these kids had been there before on the 6th grade field trip, so they got to go back and see it again, a little bit older. I had been there when I was in the 6th grade, and going back, I was like, it's a lot smaller than I remember. I don't know. So anyway, it felt more like it was more 6th grade appropriate, but I don't know.
Yeah, we actually did, we got to see a sea lion feeding, and they're throwing the fish around, he's doing all these tricks, and this big, I don't know, 500-pound sea lion actually does a front flip out of the water. It was like, pretty amazing.
We had some close sea lion encounters too, at Charleston, just on the docks, which was fun. Then we just did a little exploration of Newport, and then went to Beverly Beach State Park, and that was the last place that we stayed. And these guys got to go down to the beach there again.
That was funny because we were walking around the beachfront in Newport, Ripley's Believe It or Not and everything, and the weather's awesome, it's hot, sunny. Then we get on the bus and start to drive to
the Beverly Beach.
Yeah, Beverly. And we get there, we get settled in, and then it starts pouring down rain. And we're all like, oh, well, we want to go to the beach, and everyone wanted to go, but everyone really didn't want to go because it was raining. So we make the mile trek to the beach, and we're all in 2 or 3 layers of coats. At least I was in my swim trunks. And then we get to the beach, and it's just gorgeous again.
We had the weather was it didn't cooperate very well with us. First time it really rained quite a bit. Last few years, I guess we've lucked out. And then our last stop the next day, Monday, on our way home, we stopped at Oregon State, and I wanted these guys to get a campus tour and get to see some large lecture halls, and they did. An old professor of mine is a assistant dean, and she told me she could get us anywhere we wanted to go and all this, but we ended up just kind of getting a canned campus tour, which was a little bit disappointing. I really wanted them to actually get to sit in on a lecture and get that experience, but we ended up just walking in and seeing a big lecture hall where there was a class going on, but we didn't get to have a seat and wait it out. So we just kind of got the canned campus tour, and then we came home. So that was it. Any questions about anything?
How many winners?
What did we have? Either 18 or 20, I I can't remember which, but yeah, somewhere in that 20 range. So
Enough.
enough.
Keep you busy.
It was enough. Yeah, it was enough. And when you're staying in yurts and everything, it's, you know, sometimes a little bit fewer is better. I had almost 40 one year, and that was a few too many.
Third or fourth year you got it?
Let's see, fourth.
So is Winston where they have the cheetah breeding program?
Yeah, yeah, they touched on that. We didn't actually get to go into it, but they talked about it, yeah.
That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was there.
It's well, on the West Coast, or maybe in the whole United States, but that's like the largest captive cheetah breeding facility, and so it's kind of interesting. Yeah. So we're glad that you guys let us go. It's a lot of our improving our trip.
Yeah.
Where'd you eat breakfast?
In Newport? Did we eat breakfast in Newport?
No, we had some slack.
Yeah.
We had some people forget.
Yeah, we try to do our own meals, and we had a few students bring cereal, but they forgot the milk and the bowls. So that was kind of unfortunate. That makes it
Oh yeah, it was a blast. It was really fun.
Well, thank you for the
Yes,
update,
thank
the
you.
report.
Thanks for coming to talk to us.
Yeah.
It's good to hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't get the PowerPoint to work. But...
Actually,
Send
Dustin,
to us?
I was gonna say, I just sent you an email. If you send it to me, I'll forward it to the board. I'll just.
I don't know if I can send it to you. That was the problem that I had. I tried to send it. And
Okay, cool. I have a thumb drive and we can, I'll
Okay.
send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send you a blank one, so you can't have this one yet.
Okay, all right.
Great. That'd be fun to
And then I'll
see.
get it to them.
Thanks.
Solar project grant funding and project approval.
You guys have a whole nother packet on that that's separate, just because it's easier than trying to do it on your laptop.
Yeah. That's just title bit.
I wish I could tell you about a field trip. It sounded like a lot of fun. So, just for the record, Todd Gregory with Obsidian Renewables. We came to the board back in October, and the board approved a 200 kilowatt project to be built for the school in Ohio, the Innovation Learning Center. Just south of the, just east of the district office on the lot. The approval was contingent upon some grant funding that we were waiting for to hear word from the state of Oregon, and they took forever to figure out what they were going to do with the grants. We asked for $210,000, anticipating that they would haircut the grant to probably $180,000, so that's what we had in the previous model. And then what they actually did was they haircut it by 50% because I guess they had so many projects apply, and it took a long time to make a decision because there were some projects that were political, and so they added a bunch of projects to the group, and so haircutted out all the projects by 50% of what they asked for. So what that meant for us was it put us about $75,000 to $80,000 short for what we had in our model that we presented to you. So I talked to Sean, and we went through and started reworking numbers to see what we could do to make it work. And I think I've come up with a pretty good proposal to still do the project and not have everybody go broke doing it. So what I did was in the project was so if we build the project next summer, which is where we're at now because it took so long to make a decision, I could save $10,000 to $15,000 to build a project because it's probably the world's worst kept secret, but we're going to be building a big project in July next summer. So we'll have crews mobilized in the area. So we won't have to mobilize a crew just for this project. So we can save, we can maximize some efficiencies by doing that. Second, we just took about $20,000 worth of profit out of it for Obsidian. And then
by building it next year, the costs will come down slightly for modules and equipment and so forth. So talking to our contractors, doing a little bit of forward pricing, I think we can get the price down a little bit more on the contract if we build it next year. And then from the school, what I did was I took the power purchase price, what you would add to pay, what we approved in the last, back in October. That was 8.8 cents is what it would have been in 2015. I raised that to a flat 9 cents a kilowatt hour to start out with, instead of 8.8, with the same escalator that we talked about, 4% a year. And then I increased the purchase option price in year 6, what the school would have to come up with, by $30,000. So from 150 to 180. So all in, the school's piece of the $80,000 to $85,000 shortfall is about $33,000. It's still, when you look at, and I'm not sure if you have it in front of you, but if you have
That's the last page. No, it's the second to the last.
so there's what I call the old proposal, which is from 1019. They'll have a kind of a big sheet with some.
We have sticky notes with dates on the front, you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so two of these, one that says 10/9/13, and that one was 5/19/14.
And then the new one's dated
5/19/14.
5/19/14. So what you want to kind of pay attention to is the box on the kind of lower left-hand corner that summarizes the impact, the long-term impact to the school. So actually, the long-term impact of the school, back in October, we said, well, the school from this project is going to save, in gross numbers, roughly $1.1 million in energy cost. It's still the same. It actually went up a little bit on the new proposal, even though the school's coming up with a little bit more up front. When you escalate the power costs as compared to what you would have had to pay out, if you're starting in 2015, your last year was, a year later, so it's a bigger number when you escalate everything. So when you bring that all back, you're actually benefiting on the gross just a little bit more because we're going to wait a year to build it. So you can see the numbers, the present value numbers are still basically the same. And then I had a conversation with Jim Walls this morning, and I explained to him, and unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight, he had a previous engagement. But I was explaining to him about this $33,000 increase to the school, and his response was that we could take that money out of the grant money that he got for the ILC. He's got $500,000 grant money to receive for the ILC, and he didn't have any problem putting the line item in there for the incremental amount at the school. So that's my report. I think it's still a smoking deal for the school, but the numbers did change, so we thought it'd be appropriate to bring it back to the board to make sure we knew what was going on.
Keep in mind, go ahead.
That $33,000 would be upfront costs?
No, it'd be a little bit more for about 5 years, about $800 a year more than what we previously proposed, and then $30,000 in year 6.
Okay, or in
And then I think Darrell did some numbers on his own to use some differences.
Yeah, I did. They're a little more conservative than Todd's. Yes.
Todd, what is the technical review fee?
Technical review fee, so we received a award letter.
Right.
And then in order to, for them to proceed with the grant, they require a technical review fee of, there's a calculation, basically, I think it's like $3,500
Okay.
that we pick up. It's part of our budget.
Because that was kind of a,
Yeah.
that was soon. June, oh.
Yeah, I got an extension.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, that
No,
already passed.
yeah, no, I just call it and got it, so.
Okay, so an extension to when?
It's 30 days extension.
Okay.
So if the board approves it, Obsidian's gonna pay that, and we'll, you know, it's just part of our cost to do the project. But I didn't wanna pay it until,
Right.
you know, we approved it, so.
That's just a lot of information to digest.
And what's your bottom line, Darrell?
If you look at the top of that spreadsheet, you don't have to look at the bottom half, that's not an option we're doing. But if you look at the bottom, it's highlighted in yellow. You can see our cash flow. We have to pay for power, we have to pay for power anyway. We're going to pay that slightly higher for Todd's power for the 6 years, but that's our total cash outlay per year up to year 6. And you see year 6, we have the buyout with $180,000. Todd's model was a little lower than 180 because if we buy it that year, we don't have to pay for power that year. So my model assumes we're going to pay for the power this year too, so that cost is kind of in there twice. So, and then as you see, after we make the buyout in year 7, year 8, year 9, you see our cash flow is positive as we go up to a 25-year life. Mr. Greger's model goes out to 30. I kept ours a little more conservative. We got a little feedback at the planning meeting or some friends, you know, was commenting on that. So I tried to make a little more conservative model. So if we bring all of those positive cash flows back to a current value of money, you see that net present value of $94,000 there, and that's probably a little low based on Todd's figures. But if we did the project, the amount it's worth to the school today is $94,000 to us. And of course, if you did it on a future value based on 25 years of projecting electricity to go up, it's a substantial amount more. But we need one place to compare it to make a decision, so I brought it back to the present value. I think it's a good project. I think it's a good thing for the school. It's going to save us some money, but it does take some cash flow in the first 6 years. It's a long-term payout. It's not an immediate payout.
Yeah, and you're being conservative as a 25-year life. Yeah, well, 30 years may be more realistic.
Well, the equipment's warranty for 25 years.
Okay.
So think about it like your car, right? You have
Okay.
a 5-year warranty on your car. It's probably the last one. We think that life is 30, 35 years, and we use 30 years. But, and then we used as an escalator for increase that what you would have to pay an increased energy cost is 4% per year is what the power costs have gone. If you measure the last 4 to 5 years, average has been about 4%.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot higher with the new EPA rules.
So I use 4%, Darrell used 2% increase. So Darrell's is a really conservative model. I would call mine kind of a mid conservative type model, not terribly aggressive, but middle conservative. But even under the most conservative consumption assumptions, I still think it's a good project. So still cash positive.
Okay, sounds good to me.
So where are we at with this? Well, what the board had originally approved was that we move forward with the planning process of the project, assuming we would get, and we were kind of pending the grant. Again, the grant came in as half of what we originally anticipated, so that's when we started re-looking at the numbers, and that's what you see in front of you tonight.
And it has been approved by the town, we should say that, but been approved by the town planning commission. That was quite the process.
Yeah, the town has approved the project on the planning commission, and I think we use that as the network feedback and the community discussion, those sorts of things. I think you've heard from Mr. Gregory and Mr. Anderson, but, depending on how you want to look at it, But either way, we're talking about positive cash flow for the district. You know, still the same parameters revolve around this project in terms of, you know, there's some investment the first 6 or 7 years, then the purchase, and then that's really when the positive cash flow goes from there. From an educator standpoint, I see this as a tremendously valuable educational tool. I think we can use it on a number of contexts. Also in terms of budget, I think, you know, it's kind of like investing in the geothermal project or investing in our lighting project.
So it's the part that will pay for the fans to keep the room for the water cool.
There you go. There you go. So that's kind of where we're at with this project.
So back, when was that? When we made the first?
October.
We approved the project pending fund approval,
Penny and Brent.
pending the grant. And so we received the grant, so that automatically makes the project approved, or we need to
No.
approve the project.
You need to do the final approval on the project.
Okay.
No, but I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, we don't say that might change, but.
I don't, no, we saw the value, so there's value there. So I guess I would want to make the motion that we proceed and go with the project.
And part of the project is where do we fit in, kind of how it all laid out, part of it was moving the greenhouse and all this, is that all?
That would be timed for next summer. We're not talking about construction this summer.
No, it'd be next, after the kids get out, actually right about this time next year, we'll be doing it.
So that'd give us a year plan, especially for moving up the greenhouse, which would happen after we're done with the horticulture growing season, first part of June. We can move the greenhouse over and then reconstruct the solar project.
I think my main objections were just, I feel a lot better about it not doing it this year.
And I think we were kind of under some duress in the fact that we were just coming off of turning on the geothermal and we were looking and ILC was opening and so now that some time has passed, it's going to come to closure and this pushes us out another year on this one. The timing is aligned a lot better now.
Yes, it does.
Well, we didn't know we had that grant through LCRI either.
Oh, yeah.
True.
So that's,
So that's-
true.
I mean, that's a huge difference to me, because that's
Okay.
a big difference.
That provides a little bit of cushion.
So do you want to make a motion?
No, don't push it, you make the Thanks, Doug.
I'd like to make the motion that we proceed with the solar project, which is anticipated construction in 2015. Which has been laid out by two analysis that we wind up with a positive present value, meaning value to the school.
Does it just say as presented?
As presented.
Yeah, probably as presented.
As presented by Obsidian Renewables.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the solar project 2015 as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Will you submit a new contract? We haven't signed the contract.
No, we haven't done any power purchase agreement yet, so, that, yeah, that'll be forthcoming.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Daryl.
Okay. Why don't we go back to our public comment?
Well, I had an exit interview with Sean last week, and there were just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you. First of all, thank you for all the opportunities I had here, and I'm sorry. I have loved this district, and I have loved my friends and the kids. And I've really loved teaching for Bob and Steve. And so I'll get it together. Bob and Steve, and then this year with Jesse, they're really proactive and they're innovative, and Steve has coached through so many situations, and he has really made me a good teacher. There was this one time this year that I told the kids that once they got done early, they could draw a picture on the back of their tests and, you know, make it funny. And so one kid did, but it was highly inappropriate. And he had made a lot of progress since progress reports. And I didn't want to see, I wanted to be able to handle the situation myself, not have to turn him in, write a referral. I wanted a way to be able to continue with the progress that he had made. And so Steve told me, approach the kid, tell him, you know, you appreciated his attempt at humor, but that it crossed the line. Tell him he needed to go home, tell his parents, and that you would be making a phone call the next day. And it really felt like, I mean, the kid has just blossomed this year, and there's so many of those situations where Bob and Steve, you know, Jesse I've only worked with for 1 year, so I don't want to leave him out, but I worked with them for, you know, 7 years, and they've coached me through so many situations like that, and they're incredible. So, you know, Bob works for, there's two reasons why I wanted him here tonight. Not to tell you I loved them, because I do love them, but the first reason was about professional development, and he's such a big proponent of professional development. And Bob really works for our literacy grants. If you remember, he had this Chris grant, and then Feldman was my favorite. He was this man who was probably the ADD kid in the back of the class. He was probably a lot like Christian, and you know, he was just incredible. He was funny, and he spoke from the heart, and he believed that everyone in the classroom should do everything, regardless of, you know, where you fall on the spectrum. And you know, now Steve with Avid and Jesse with Avid, I just hope that those things continue. You know, I believe this year there's the same amount of professional development days next year's calendar as there are on this year's calendar. With the Smarter Balance and the Common Core that are coming up, I think that core teachers especially need more time. You know, there's 4 professional development days, I believe. Don't quote me on that, I don't know for sure. But I would love if the math teachers could have, if everybody could have early release, late starts. You know, they don't need a whole entire day. They do need time to collaborate. You know, Rebecca knows that Noni is swamped in the morning with kids and after school with kids. And if you're coaching, after school doesn't work, and in the mornings you're just frantically trying to get your lessons together. So, you know, if it was Mark or Noni and I, there's just no time for us to be able to meet. And, you know, these Common Core standards are the most, they are the most radical that I've seen. When we were at Oregon State, one of the things that we did was we did a standards comparison study, and these are very, very different. So, you know, I would like to continue to see this district value professional development and time for teachers to be able to collaborate and talk. I know that the elementary school feels the same way with their RTI grant at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and like you know, a couple of times in between, it just doesn't ever feel like it's enough. So that was the first thing that I really wanted to say. I believe our test scores are because this district values professional development. We have fabulous test scores this year in particular, and those are because of, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, all of this literacy stuff at the high school coming through. The last thing that I just wanted to say was when I was a first year teacher here, first and a second year teacher here, Bob Squires and Greg Larson came into my classroom as board members, and I know how busy they are. I know how busy many of you are. There's a couple of you who don't know, but I would imagine that you're just as busy as everybody else. And it just meant a lot to me as a new teacher. I felt connected with those two. They didn't bring a piece of paper in. They had no notes. Greg sat down and he did the activity with my class and fumbled through it, and he had to ask one of the kids how to do it, and I never felt like it was micromanaging or anything else. And maybe other staff get nervous and they feel like that, but it was just, it just made me feel really connected to them. And so as others are coming in, maybe consider doing that with them. I don't know, a teacher from a big city, this was a huge adjustment, and it made me feel good. So, thank you. I'm sorry that I cried. Tried not to. But thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. We appreciate hearing the end of your assessment and your input. It's important. It means a lot to us. Your feedback is what helps us be better. Any other public comment? No? Okay. So we will be jumping now down to 8.1, written building reports.
There is not a fight going on outside.
They're barking at the wind.
No, literally, there's a lady with a
Oh.
dog outside of the yard of the dog, and that dog's going crazy. And she's talking to the person that lives there.
Well, what I was asking was incoming kindergarten. Do we know?
I heard about 39, 8 out of
No, that's okay. Quite a symphony, isn't it?
Also keep in mind that it's early to tell what the numbers are actually
I know.
are.
I
So
know.
traditionally, they tend to be low this time of year, and you really see what you have.
It just depends on who wants to what they want.
Yeah.
Usually it's anywhere from 5 to 10 add-ons. First grade.
Oh, it is.
You just don't know exactly who's not a head start. Something like that.
No, I read that.
And as of today, we may have another one going in. Not that it's not. It's not public.
So I noticed on your site counselor, you just had one parent.
Yeah,
Do you
we are going to vigorously, we had 2 parents, 1 parent resigned, and we're going to vigorously campaign for the parent. With the parent representation of each building.
Because you have a lot in the parent club. There's,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
This parent is also the president of the Parents Club, so it's probably one of the parents that have over the years, this parent is the first I've had who's very much involved in the parents, which is really nice. Pardon me? This is Stanton.
comments on the building reports and site committee meeting reports? Okay. How about K-12 counseling report?
Yes, Mr. Chair, every year by board policy, we do a K-12 comprehensive guidance and counseling program report. And it's always up for board approval and no comment. I've reviewed this report. I think it's very accurate.
Does it start with that?
No, keep going. It looks like this.
Oh.
This is page 31, Stephanie.
Oh, that was, I know.
I had a note about the title to a staff survey, but I don't remember if it was.
That's what you got previous to your council report. That's
It
what we
was
asked.
in
We don't
your-
have it in the packet, but I can sure get you a copy of the study, so.
That was my question, if we could see the
Sure,
results.
if I can go ahead and submit that at the next meeting. I had a hard, Mrs. Gallagher didn't get me an electronic copy, we had a hard copy, so
Okay.
what I will need to do, I'll see if you get me an electronic copy.
Point 3 is site grant application report.
Mr. Anderson?
There's another round of grants coming up. I was in Salem the end of May. Attended their workshop with them. So that they available July 1st. Closes the 1st of September. Basically, the program is pretty much the same as again. The maximum for grant is $1 million. And I think they have, I forgot, I think they have 15 or 20 million to give away. So, we have this building we're sitting in. We have the auditorium, which comes out quite simply. We have the gymnasium on the high school. And we have the gym has. I think we need to prioritize, and we'll do that with the application. But the gym and our auditorium, high use areas, they're also safety areas in case of a problem, disaster. I think we should prioritize those. And look at the PDA for this one. This one. We need to update the engineering report that goes in. We can update that. Our original report was done through a grant from FEMA. Federal Emergency Management. So we can update that a little bit to send in the application. But applications haven't changed much. I think we have a good chance that we've got a pretty good track record. Getting things done before it has.
So we'll look at the grants and prioritizing at that time.
Yeah, they're not available, the applications aren't available to July 1st.
Yes, sir.
And
size of grant, get the roofs.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Oh.
Camera's going. You really need to make it earthquake proof.
The
Fix our own
the whole
roof.
building.
Well, no, I forgot the camera was on.
Okay. All right. So we will move into old business, but it's been requested that we take a 5-minute break.
5-minute break would be
Okay.
fine.
Great, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, she didn't want it.
I'll start by myself.
What?
I'll start with myself.
All right.
I know, that's another. I know. I'm already counting them.
You're very confident.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Every time you see I'm nice to
You never got back.
Okay.
Becky's getting wet one,
Well, I like
a hard day, giving her a hard.
Corbett's having a bad day.
Did you just hear what Corbin has said about the walkers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I see you're.
About the,
right next to it.
you're responsible
Okay.
about the
I gotta
case
give you
number.
one story. All right. So we did know.
I did know. So you're taking this on church? It's gonna be already.
Here's something different.
Cleaners?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
There's some team that used to have their own state.
Build responsible.
So anyway.
We throw them up in the air, you know, and stand there and read them. Our first Christmas on our soapbox.
That's funny.
What 10 market box? You can fit the 10 market box anywhere. They fit in this. Well, they live.
Can't wait for David to get home.
So that's stuff that you're looking at.
I know that David. What do you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that?
He's giving us
Watch where I water. Fix the world.
pressurized smoke cluster.
What?
At least like.
We have to bag, like, them and dump it off. Or you want to bring the house together. Mow your lawn without a bag. Yeah, sure enough, you keep your lawn longer, more good. So that's
Good, good.
3 days off.
Working on some more.
Yeah.
Trying to shell this
Yeah.
yeah. And that's okay.
Good.
You want me to wait and see how it goes, Steve, before you take off?
The new receptionist put that on there today, and I said, the board really doesn't like the candy on the table.
That was a strategic planning on your part.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm not going over to you. I don't know.
Wind takes more service.
I think we got an hour. Probably.
Notice how they can talk to them, fine.
Yes, I see that.
Make motions.
Okay, we returned from our break, we'll reconvene. Old business, soccer field, fundraising update and plan review.
I'm gonna let Mr. Anderson.
The soccer field required a site plan review from the town planning department, so that will be submitted this week for the July board meeting, planning commission. Rotary fundraiser is underway right now. If you buy tickets, buy a ticket or multiple tickets, we expect to have at least $10,000 worth of profit off that budget. With the 15 we already have, it's 25,000. Rotary is also making an application to some money funding in College of Dawn. So with the plan review in place, we're hoping to maybe get a little done this fall. So there's some work done this summer. I think it's important if we move some dirt, get some grading done, even if we don't get the final sod on the field. People at least see we're working at it. There's been all kinds of rumors that I didn't know about, that I was told about. We're moving it over to the fairgrounds, because I guess the fairgrounds will be putting in some sprinkler. Something's been going on. So anyway, I think we put those to rest a little bit, but I think get some things done.
Do you need approval to start moving there?
Well, I think we need to be at least aware of it, so if we see it, we'll be surprised. I'm going to,
I don't know what your timeline is.
I'd like to, we won't get planning approval till mid-July, so it'll be after that. I'd like to do the rough grading this summer, have the field graded, maybe the sprinkler system. Depends on how our funding goes. Get the sod. So if we get the sod, we'd be done. At least get the sprinkler system and the rough grading. So I hate to tear up too much ground too early in the summer. It's pretty dry and dusty. It can be a nightmare for some of the residents in there.
So you're thinking rough grading this fall?
Yeah.
Will that affect our greenhouse move? Do we have a plan?
The greenhouse movie?
How we're gonna do it?
I've been leaving that up to the engineer.
We were gonna move it up by DMS.
Oh, I know where it's going.
Going.
How are you gonna do it?
How are we gonna do it? I went in there one day and looked at it, and I've been kind of laying awake at night thinking about that. I think we can get it, roll some braces on it, cut it off from the concrete foundation, put some steel under, and we'll throw it up there. And then we'll pour a new foundation, get it onto the new concrete, we'll put weld blades in the concrete, and we'll just roll it back down.
Welding and then.
It's not a real simple project, but if we can close the whole street, then it's,
So it sounds like before we start moving dirt, we'll bring something back to the board for approval.
yeah, we can bring the final drawings back. We have things pretty well laid out. There's a substantial amount of earthwork, a couple thousand yards of earthwork.
Then also you'll see in your packet, Jesse did some poking around with the idea of turf. And there is a council out there that supports turf projects. And we did get a bump on that. And the problem is, it requires, was it $350 or $400? $400,000 match. And, they wanted to move forward with it now, and we said, no, okay, with that kind of funding. So,
the guy told, I emailed him back and forth this summer, obviously, he's not, and haven't heard anything back. He said they should have some slots open in the future. They've done a lot of work in Oregon, they're doing a field over in Klamath County.
It's a grant, it's a $1.2 million facility roughly, they'll cover 70% of it. So, pretty substantial, but it's also pretty substantial we have to come up with. So, I haven't heard any back on slots in the future years. So.
Yeah, I don't think we can really count on anything, it's just, I wanted the board to be aware of that, those opportunities do exist out there. And it does take that bigger initial.
And so we're talking artificial turf?
Yeah, and it's not the application, kind of the very pre-approval type thing, I said it was not for soccer, it's for an all-purpose facility. It's replacing the football field with turf, into an all-purpose facility. Football, soccer.
So.
Is that who's doing the Thomas deal?
Yep.
I thought their, Klamath County said like 100 and some thousand, so do they have somebody else sponsoring part of it?
It's more than that, but they're getting some help with some of the stuff from the Army Corps, the National Guard.
Kingsley.
At Kingsley, yeah. So they're getting some help there. That's why they're.
So this doesn't affect our soccer team?
No.
Because it wouldn't be a regulation, we couldn't, like, it's all purpose, but it's not.
Well, it's we would have football and soccer, yeah.
Right, this would be where the football stadium.
We have two soccer.
Yeah, you could. An all-purpose and then soccer field. Really, we keep calling this a soccer field. Well, it's and also an all-purpose field. It can be used for football practice. It can be used for whatever you want. Grass space for them.
Right.
Grass space is in high demand right now. And especially with programs like AYSO and things like that going on in the community. So whatever combination that we end up with eventually is going to be a positive aspect for the community in this district. I just wanted to make sure we put this in front of the board so you know that these options exist. And, maybe someday we'll have some opportunities. Maybe there'll be a Kingsley Field come our way or something. I don't know.
Let's get those jets to land on.
Yeah, you just never know.
The airfield is appropriate size for them to land.
Yeah. It was an airfield.
No, I mean, because the jets are, because jets land in a tighter space than the larger planes that were originally slated for sort of flying. Yes, we could have a touch and go.
Yeah.
Touch and go would be very nice, because then all of a sudden, that's, a rent.
Right, that's true.
Is that all that?
It's very peaceful over
Touch and go. Is that near your house or something?
Well, you've been over in Klamath, or doing touch and goes, it's not quite natural.
Yeah, I've heard.
Oh, yes.
I was in the airport.
Yeah.
What?
15 minutes. All right. Reader board, funding and installation, cost update approval.
What you see in your packet is some engineering designs done by Anderson Engineering, as well as a signed installation estimate. Also the budget shows what we have amount pledged, including $4,500 by the school district, and it's a total of $16,200, and we've only spent around $14,000, so there's a couple thousand still remaining in that particular area. Mr. Anderson, you've been more involved in this project than I have. I think you have a much better sense about what is still needed to get this project done.
Well, again, it's a sign, it's over 6 feet tall, it's got all kinds of things, so it has to have town planning approval. The town of Lakeview, Ray Sims, put the planning application in. We did the design. It's proposed to go next to the ESP building on the north side of their property line, across from Safeway, where you can see it from both ways. Again, it'll be on the planning agenda in July, so we want to get it built sometime after that. Looks like I do have the
final design drawings, I did send it out so we could get some tighter construction quotes in the estimate that we have here. But it looks like we're substantially short on getting this thing up and paid for. I do know the town, I've talked to Ray Sims, the manager, the town will contribute some funds to this, so whatever the school can contribute will be appreciated. This was a little bit of a frustrating project for me, it's okay to get the sign, but you can't just leave it there, you've got to figure out how to get the sign up. And, it's taken a substantial amount of staff time. It's going to take a substantial amount of money, drive it done, probably almost as much as the sign costs.
So that is something that if the board would like to see us try and roll that cost, and I can work close with Daryl to kind of nail down what that amount would be in terms of that additional $125,000. We might have some bearing on that if the board is interested in pursuing that.
Nice. I think we need to get it up.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs to happen now.
Yeah, that would be nice. Get it done.
So how about if I work with Daryl and we kind of nail down some figures and I build that into the proposal?
Okay.
That you'll hear on the next board meeting. Is that all right?
Yeah, I think we definitely need to approach the town, though. I've been doing a couple of things that they've already talked about how they're gonna advertise on this sign.
Yeah, I think the town is sharing the costs. I don't think we have to bear the whole installation cost. But we need to get that. We need to get that out. And at least I want to see some type of agreement on who controls this line. I think we need something in writing here.
I have Mr. Headland start working on that with Mr. Bogarts.
Okay.
And I will touch base with him to see where he's at with that agreement.
I saw the funding list and I've lost it. The computer?
Yeah. You saw it?
It's the next page.
The next page.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. Backside, review board budget.
Page 38, Daryl.
So you'll get back to us for that kind of break?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll work with Daryl, work with the town, see what we can come up with in terms of nailing down some figures.
All right, consent agenda. Steve, go ahead with the revisions.
I did not read
I'm dying to know how we solve towel.
BYOT.
I know, but that's.
Just talk to all the coaches and talk to the PE teachers, talk to parents.
Just gonna throw it in.
Most of them were delighted not to have the fee. Bring their own towel. So we're gonna give it a shot.
Okay.
One yearbook, huh, for 7 through 12?
Yeah, talking to the teacher and looking at older yearbooks. It's something that this district has done before. As you look at the older books, there has been a section for middle school.
Oh.
Right now they have a separate, it's not a hard copy. It's Diane Hamilton kind of volunteered to do it, and gathers all the pictures. There's no student yearbook class. This would be combined DMS LHS yearbook, and we would have middle school students in the yearbook class working on the yearbook, their section. So you'd hopefully grow your program that way too. Your kids could go potentially 6 years, do 6 years of yearbook.
And here is a young guy,
Did you bring the,
This year's yearbook over?
Oh, no, I didn't. You're right, I was going to. Yeah.
Did you bring the handbook, or do we have the handbook?
I have it electronically, but I looked all over my office and I couldn't find the 13-14, so I apologize, I just have it electronically. I can bring it up on my screen though, and you can look at it. That's the one I emailed to you guys.
Dress and grooming. I don't know, but it's changing. It says include cross-dress.
Yeah, that's one.
On dress and grooming,
Mm-hmm.
the language right now is, it says underwear. It says,
That you should wear it.
it says you can't wear dresses or tops that expose, or pants that expose the underwear. Tops and shirts must cover the underwear.
Oh,
So
okay.
we're gonna include
Cross-dress.
including bra strap.
Okay. Some help for
What about the first violation language? What again? Cleaning that up, what?
That one is, has to do with our participation rules, and right now, the athlete's first violation, we have some language that talks about being on probation, and then extra requirements, because they basically, they agreed to a 10-day suspension over a 30-day suspension. Part of that agreement is that they're on probation, and then there's some other conditions. And the conditions are, you know, possibly a curfew, a minor in attendance, you know, school behavior. Right now, we don't make them sign a contract, we just tell them that, this stuff. So then those kids that get the second violation, or they were maybe in violation of a minor in attendance, we don't have anything in writing. So the language is just gonna include first violators are going to agree to signing a contract that will agree to them potentially having a curfew, a minor in attendance. So we have something in writing with a potential second violator. It was just real vague with some kids.
Nice to see concussion.
Anything else on the number this week? The Lake County Community Foundation grant application approval. That's good.
Then as for the soccer field, the Rotary Club cannot apply for that. Jim Walls wanted us to apply for that. It's not a large amount of money.
$1,000.
$1,000, $6,000. So I sent it down to Sean. They wanted a tremendous amount of information. They wanted the budget, they wanted the background of the board members, it was gonna be maintained, and list them. I didn't want to do the application. I had any comment to do it. I thought about just giving it $1,000. But anyway, Sean wrote a letter and kind of briefly put the budget, that's what it cost. That's it.
Great. CRC evaluation approval. Okay. District office summer schedule hours.
Same as what we've had the last 3-4 years, so.
Steve Schultz.
Pardon me?
What were those?
Moving from 5/8 to 4/10s for staff. Doesn't affect my schedule, because we work 5 days a week.
You ain't gonna be here?
Nope,
4/10.
I quit for the summer.
Do you remember that's because there's other offices that are closed on Fridays too?
Yeah, that's the real rationale, is from the other
Because
offices.
I know you don't like it when there's one there.
I do all my best work on Friday. And then you can't get
That's awesome. They're not there to bother you.
to.
There will still be people working in the building, it'll just be closed to the public.
We're good. They've come for the 7 KCC Advanced Diploma Program.
Oh, I did have a question. It had to do with the 36 minimum or maximum hours. I think it was just a typo, but it confused me. This is just way too many papers.
It is page 76 in your main one.
Are you talking about the language and the actual MOU?
Yeah, so you go down to page like 80 something.
No, it was your memo.
My memo,
The
Number
right
page
product.
76.
Number 7.
76, number 7. Right.
Yeah, up to 36 total credits at a minimum.
Right, meaning that if we set it at 36, and it depends on what the cost comes in for the books. I was also able to negotiate where we do not have to buy the books through KCC Bookstore. And that was a big discussion, because Klamath County and Klamath City School Districts do. But we said, hey, no. If we can find a better deal, we should be able to be allowed to do that. So it's a big question mark right now, what the cost of the books will be to the district for the student. And we're kind of going to watch this and analyze it, and if there's enough money left over in the end, we might be able to pay for more credits than the 36, and that's why I said that.
Okay, because number 3 says maximum number of available credits.
I know.
And then,
It's just my way of saying we've negotiated flexibility.
What A covers that, because it says total may increase based upon available funding as determined.
Right.
So that covers us there.
So again, we set it at 36 initially in the agreement, but we have flexibility. If we feel that there's enough of a cushion there, we
And
might
we
be.
do that year by year based on our
Well,
funding?
we're gonna take a look with this first year and kind of monitor it and see where it ends up. We'll probably know better come mid-winter, mid-late winter, and so we can anticipate the possible spring term. It's just kind of it's gonna be an annual evaluation for a while until we see how this works.
just a 2-year agreement. Then.
This is a 2-year agreement.
So we'll have to just.
Good?
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
And with the motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. New business, 11.1, the certified teacher resignation approval.
Yes, Mr. Chair, with regrets, you see 3 letters of resignation in front of you, one from Ms. Jenna Shalio, one from Mrs. Hank Alderson, and one from Mr. B.J. Alderson. You can approve them separately or all together, I recommend separately. It's up to the board.
So do we want to, we don't want to.
No,
We
we
need to.
separate motion.
We need to make 3 separate motions to accept.
You could, or you could do it all together. It's really, it's your choice.
I can add individual comments, because I know that's one of the reasons you
I'll
guys
move that
separated.
we accept the resignation with regret from Ms. Shiloh, Shalio, Mrs. Albertson, and Mr. Albertson.
So the motion's been made and seconded, with regrets, and I guess, a heavy heart that we accept these letters of resignation. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to 11.2 is CTE teacher license renewal and approvals.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see is just presented in front of you in written form. The board can either approve or not approve.
So before us is proposal to continue or recertify Jim's CTE licensure for a 5-year period. Is there any discussion?
I guess in light of the acceptance of the resignation, I would move that we did not CTE.
So the motion's been made not to. Is there discussion on that? Is there a second?
Is there any public comment or no?
I think we felt that since he resigned your position, that, and you're moving, that your new employer would be the person to renew your certification. Is there?
I understand that.
Yeah.
I knew in doing this order that was a possibility.
Yeah.
However, instead of sitting here in this meeting and waiting for you to approve it, and in the next meeting in June handing you my letter of resignation, I wanted it to be upfront as possible. So that's why it was done in this way. It's my understanding that this is not saying you're going to hire me back. It's that I met the requirements in the last 5 years. Teaching here that takes care of that.
So there's been a motion made and seconded, right?
I don't have a
It's
second.
been made.
There hasn't been a second.
There's no second.
So it'll either die for lack of a second, which
It's still not approval.
which always will wait. We have to make a decision one way or the other. It's not fair, so I'll second it. That will force this, we'll make this vote.
So the motion's been made and seconded to not renew. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Aye. Motion, is there 3?
I'm still contemplating. I wish you would have started at the other end of the table.
How do we do that? You have to get up and move.
I'll vote aye. 4.
In favor?
In favor or opposed? In favor.
All right, motion carries 3-2 in favor of not renewing. Okay. 11.3, CTE Career and Technical Educator Program Approval.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see in front of you is a draft district press release in terms of looking at filling the construction teacher position. Mr. Cagle and I spent some time on the phone with Ray Hazard, our regional CTE coordinator, and he just felt that with the market, that it would be best to try and package this with the potential for multiple endorsements or an additional endorsement. The construction endorsement is still a priority. You know, that's going to be required. But there might be some combinations that we could attract, such as an endorsement in construction and agriculture, or endorsement in construction and mechanical engineering, or endorsement in construction and manufacturing technology. You know, all those that you see listed there would be viable options, and Ray really felt confident that we could attract some applicants that way. So we're just not seeing the singleton construction people out there. Is that probably the best way to summarize that well?
Exactly, yes. The CTE colleges are just not putting up that many people. So it's, we're pretty shallow as far as viable candidates out there. And keep in mind too, we've done this in the past, you can certify people from industry if they have 1,800 hours of industrial experience. So there's that option that is thrown into the mix too.
Right.
You have to put together an instructor appraisal committee, which consists of a local advisory committee. They interview candidates to ascertain, you know, their ability level within that skill area. And the committee makes a determination, yay or nay, if they do or not. And then, so I used to do this as a CT guy. W. Ray Hazard would be doing it. He would do the paperwork to go to ODE and TSPC both. So that option's out there as well, as far as attracting people from industry to fill this position as well.
Yeah. But the reason I'm bringing it to the board for approval tonight is that this may change the course slightly of the curriculum that we offer. Say it was a construction / ag combination. Well, you have some opportunity to expand, you know, some areas of ag that we currently aren't touching, such as maybe offering something separate in equine science or with your mold egg guy, there's a ton of different areas you can go.
Yeah, it's very broad.
You know, while still keeping the construction component, but it would certainly change our program somewhat. So that's why it's up to the board for approval. We have not advertised this position yet. We've just been talking, discussing, and pending your approval, and we'll start making this public tomorrow.
Well, that sounds like setting it up so that you're a little more, you're broad, you're not, you're gonna try to fish in a couple ponds that are closely related.
Yeah, it's gonna expand our horizons. In what direction, we don't know at this point.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was kind of an ag person.
There's some advantages there.
In terms of that, it could feed into this idea that we've got the Innovation and Learning Center kind of connection. If we could pull that off. I don't know if that's dangling something out there. Might be the guy to give us a feel for it.
Yeah, you know, there could be even a combination between construction and metal fabrication through manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there you go, you know, in terms of certified welding, moving in that direction. So it would be kind of exciting to see what kind of applicants we can attract out of this, and we'll have to gauge, you know, the best and what would work best for our programs. But we do not want to lose that construction component.
So is there a motion moving forward with the CPE Junior Technical Education Program approval? Need a motion?
Yeah.
Motion to Ray. Maybe second to move forward with the CPE Education Program approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 11.4, certified teacher hire approvals.
Yes, Mr. Chair, you will see two recommendations for hire in front of you. One is for world language teacher. Mr. Brock, would you like to present that?
Amy Quinlan, who's currently in the position as a long-term sub. Looking forward to having her on board as a more permanent member of staff, looking like 4 periods. Spanish, two Spanish 1, 2 Spanish 2.
Is that currently a .7 FTE?
Well, no, it's a 1.0, it's a full-time job. The former teacher was dual endorsed in language arts, which Amy's not. So we've had to backfill the language arts and the health. The former teacher was endorsed in health and language arts.
And so we won't have Spanish certainly for.
We won't have Spanish 3, we won't offer Spanish 3 next year, but potential to grow the program. We just, when we forecast, we didn't have the interest for Spanish 3 this year that we had for last year.
So where's that?
Well, for, and Lonnie can answer this better than I can, for college entrance, you just need 2 years of foreign language, correct? Yeah. And so we're still meeting the college entrance requirements with offering Spanish 1 and 2. Like Steve said, if the demand is there and we have capacity at a certain point, we can certainly be looking at bringing back Spanish. The potential exists.
I'll move for approve the hiring of Amy Kennedy for our rural analysis.
Special education.
Is there another one?
Yeah, let's do this one first and then we'll do the next one.
Okay.
So motion's been made, seconded. Approve the certified teacher discipline number for the Spanish. So what was it for? Language teacher. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. What's the other one?
The other one, you see a memo in front of you, and I'm going to let Lonnie read out this one, because this has to do with our extended school year special ed programs.
It's 11.5.
So we've submitted Michelle Lee.
Yes.
Okay. Michelle Lee for, to pick up the town kids because you guys approved Luann Anderson for the young man out. It was up to Park already at the last board meeting. She will work with 3 special ed students and for 4 weeks. And so it's a part of their IEPs for their extended year. So there's 2 elementary, 1 middle school. Michelle's a great choice because of her special ed experience, and she knows the kids, and she can do all the planning, so we don't have to add anybody in there for planning or for an aid time. So she was a good choice for that, and she wanted to do it, so we didn't make it.
Does that take place here?
It'll take place over at the high school in her classroom, so she'll do that in her classroom. She'll separate middle school and elementary, so they won't be together. The 2 elementary students will, they're age appropriate, grade level, whatever, and then the middle school student by himself.
It's in the budget.
We budgeted.
Yeah, we budget every year for these life services for special ed.
I move we approve the hiring of Michelle Lee for our special education extended school year services for these students.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Michelle Lee for our extended year school services. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Certified ESY.
We just did that one.
And what was the certified?
It's plural and it shouldn't have been plural, so you just
I
moved
see.
on. You're good.
You just added.
Yep, sorry.
Yep.
No S.
All right. Okay. 11.6, I believe, was removed.
Are we approving it?
You would approve it with your amendment.
Oh, okay. So the local attorney MOU agreement was approved with the discussed
6 months.
Well,
6 month.
Stop the movement.
You'll want to have somebody make that motion.
Okay.
To approve the MOU as presented with the amendment as negotiated today.
I'll move we approve the attorney contract with Mr. Hedler as presented with the change that for 6 months. We're going to approve it for July 1st to December 31st.
Yes.
You can just say for 6 months at the prorated amount.
At prorated or half?
Remains the same.
So the motion been made and seconded to approve Evan's contract for 6 months, and then it's subject to review.
Second. You guys are so quiet tonight. Who seconded? Sorry.
Who seconded?
Nobody seconded it.
Oh, you guys are slow tonight.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So that we can get this prorating and evaluation business going.
All right. Desi seconded.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. First reading of the school board meeting calendar.
What you see in front of you, Mr. Chair, is something we traditionally do at the very first meeting in July, and that is to determine the frequency and when we meet as a board. And the last few years, we've met at the frequency of once a month, except for the last 3 months during the budget season, we've gone twice per month. And the board has chosen the second and fourth Mondays of every month. That is completely up to the board to decide at that first July meeting. That's why it's on the agenda just as a first reading for you to see it in front of you, think about it, have some discussion between now and that first meeting in July, and at that point, then you can make a decision. I know I've been privy to some one-on-one conversations throughout this last year that there has been some consideration about going back to twice a month, just for all 12 months, but that's really important.
Can we talk about this at the work session on the 23rd? You guys want to do that?
Sure can.
See?
Yeah, I think we're going to discuss our meeting schedule here.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's
Meeting shorter.
go ahead and add that to the work session.
We can do that.
All right. And the bus purchase approval.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see in front of you is a proposal from Western Bus Sales to purchase a new bus. Mike has been working through the specifics a lot more than I have, and he's also working with John Roberts, our new bus mechanic, who came on board July 1st to take a look at all the features, all the characteristics. I know we've had a lot of trouble with bus number 2 we just recently purchased, but that's with the larger engine combination. This is the smaller engine, which Mike has been assured does not have those same issues. Mike, is that a good way to summarize that?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
There has been some discussion about the high back school bus seats. I've had some feedback from bus drivers, but Mike and I checked into that. It's a federal requirement mandate, which we're going to do about it.
Oh, now we're gonna have high backs.
We did on this recent bus we purchased, and a lot of bus drivers are saying it's creating extra challenges in terms of supervision, especially for the little guys and gals.
You can't see in your mirror because the seat's high.
The seat height
The
is so
seats are
high.
so high you can't see.
You can see high school kids and most middle school kids, but the elementary kids, they disappear. They don't have a torso length to.
Then we could just put a couple more mirrors for the handle.
We may have to.
So, will this satisfy our wheelchair requirement?
Yes, this will also satisfy our wheelchair requirement as required by ADA.
Did we go through some procurement? Do we have any issues on that?
Mike?
No, what we do is we tag on to another bigger district's contract.
I see.
We don't have to go through all the rigmarole.
Okay.
Well, I move we approve the bus purchase.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve bus purchase as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have the ILC grand opening. We have a flyer in the packet there. The grand opening is Thursday at 4 o'clock at the Daly Middle School in the South Wing Auditorium. Dr. Nancy Golden, Chief Education Officer of the State of Oregon, is the keynote speaker. We'll have Crystal Quake there with some of the ILC students giving some testimonials. We're also going to have the signing ceremony between Dr. Gutierrez and I for the Advanced Diploma Program. That MOU just recently passed tonight, approved tonight. Then we'll have some Q&A time for the audience to respond and discuss and ask Dr. Golden some questions. And then at the end of that, we'll have a little social time, and there's some ILC students lined up to give tours, just the main floor where the ILC is, that facility. So to take small groups of people over so they can see what's going on and what it looks like, and that sort of thing. And then I might remind the board that the next morning, we will have the board breakfast with Dr. Golden. And that'll be Friday morning from 8 to 9 at Jerry's Restaurant. And so that'll be a great time for you guys as board members to have some 1-on-5 time with the Chief Education Officer for the State of Oregon. And it's not every day that one has that opportunity to discuss things. So you might come prepared with topics that you might want to discuss or ask, or just getting to know her might be a good thing too. She's a very, very professional individual.
USDA Senate Board Conference exam.
Yep, just last reminder, or one of the last reminders, it's coming quick. So if anybody's interested, contact Luann or I. You can make arrangements for accommodations, registration, and the whole bit. So.
I know I will not be, so
Not
I'll be out of town.
okay. Right, so let us know.
Breakfast invitation?
Yes, we have our district end of the year breakfast. It is this Wednesday, Luann, at 7:30, is that right?
7:30 in the morning,
Yep,
yeah,
there it
high
is.
school cafeteria.
We have a little flyer in the packet there. So come one, come all. We'll be honoring our retirees and those that are moving on. And we'll also I'll be giving some end of the year updates. And this is for all staff, certified and classified, eating breakfast. Nice job, everybody.
All schools, all schools, all four.
Yep. Yep, that's district-wide.
So our late items.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The first late item, you should have
22.
back, yep, resolution number 22. Mr. Getty, do you want to present that?
Which one is that?
Resolution number 22.
Oh, this is a grant, a consortium grant with Klamath County. It's Fund 295, Tax Free Limited English Grant. But we didn't budget money for substitute license salary. Because at the time, we didn't really know if we were going to handle the costs in that area. So what we're doing is we're just transferring money that's being underspent at the travel level, 2240, and moving $1,000 of that into 1291 for a substitute salary. And the only thing wrong with this is that the title, resolution, line item transfer, the title should be changed to transfer of appropriation. OD's getting technical now, how we word things, so it'd be transfer of appropriation.
I move we approve the resolution of. You just said it.
Transfer of appropriation.
Thank you. As presented by Mr. Getty.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the transfer of appropriation as presented by Mr. Getty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Coaching approval.
Assistant volleyball coach recommendation, Mr. Hamilton, would you like that?
Yeah, Angie Miller, like to get her, she's new to the community, comes to us with a lot of volleyball experience, prior head coaching experience at the 4A level. Could be a big asset to our program. Excited to get her on board.
She's a head coach.
What's that?
She was a head coach?
Yep. Katie.
I move we approve the coaching recommendation as presented by Mr.
Made and seconded to approve the coaching recommendation made by Mr. Hamilton. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Certified extra duty days amendment approval.
Mr. Crock?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend 7 additional days for Mrs. Chavez to complete her year-end duties, special ed, requirements, grades, a lot of stuff due at the end of the year by meeting lines, extra help there, wrap it up.
I'll move that we approve the extra duty recommendation for Wyatt Chavez for an additional 7 days, June 12th through June 20th. That include work on Friday?
I do work on Friday.
I encourage you to call Daryl and see if he's in.
I second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve the extra duty contract for Wyatt Chavez. An additional 7 days, June 12th through the 20th. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And additional certified staff resignation approval.
Yes, Mr. Chair, what you see here is a letter of resignation. Mr. Gale?
Regret to inform you, Mr. Arson turned in a letter of resignation this morning. Opportunity, a wonderful opportunity for him to get back to his hometown, and very happy about it. I'm very happy for him. He will be a very good boss to my school, and I also would probably say the rest of the program too. So, pushing on.
This was coming.
Years on that 7th grade this morning.
I will accept the resignation, or I move that we accept the resignation for Carol Anderson as presented with tonight's.
So motion has been made and seconded to accept the resignation letter from Trevor Arsenal. Regrets. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next board meeting.
Is there any additional agenda items other than what we've already discussed with work session? Anything we need to add for our next agenda?
Late, I don't think anymore.
Okay, you can always contact Pete or myself if you happen to think of that.
Okay, nothing else, and then we will adjourn.
Exec session?
Exec session.
And we will reopen